Morton's bicarb product is used throughout the peloton, particularly on important time trials like today. Get 15% off eligible products at morton.com with code LRCP Vuelta 26, valid until 15 September. Why was Tadej Pogacar concerned with the level of water in his bidon? Ethan Hayter doing a fantastic TT. We're starting in Monaco with a very technical, the most technical TT I've ever covered, particularly at the start of a Grand Tour. It's flat, but it's going to be 50 k's an hour average. So many turns. Here's what Tadej Pogacar, a Monegasque resident, had to say.
I will give my everything. I know the roads pretty well, but it's pretty technical. There's gonna be no room for mistakes, I think, and it will be difficult, but I will give my best.
Despite being flat, the technicality actually suited the GC riders like a Carapaz, Rodriguez, who can throw their bike around, and Carapaz is quite explosive. Decathlon kept having different guys on the hot seat, Labros, Biziot, Chamberlain, but then for the diesels like Felix Gall, Kuss, Riccatello, they struggled on this sort of course, only as well losing more time than he would have hoped. But they started at the Casino Monte Carlo. Callum Thornley doing a really good performance. But Pogacar, what do you reckon he's scrolling? Is he playing games? Is he on the Insta Reels? Is he doing something else? But as I said, Thornley, one of the only riders I saw in the skis in this phase, and with a higher percentage of his TT in the skis. So he's a specialist. Outside of the tunnel, it's like 20 seconds from the exit to the finish, more or less. And we see that he was doing a very, very good time. But what I couldn't figure out was why some riders got the motos in the tunnel and all the way to the finish. Some got them in the tunnel and they pulled off at the deviation. Some riders didn't get the motos in the tunnel or outside of the tunnel. But Josh Tarling, everybody was rooting for him in this TT, lining up after the tragic passing of his brother Finlay in the Volta of Portugal just over a week ago. And one of the favourites for the TT, very technical in this section around the roundabout, where maybe some of the guys like Pogacar, who's done this probably recon or that roundabout a million times, have an advantage. But he goes first at T1, ahead of Clockers, who's like a prologue specialist, and he was going to go just over 11 minutes in this TT, beating his compatriot Callum Thornley by just under 2 seconds, I believe it was, in the end. So huge ride from Tarling. He'll be the big favourite for the 32k flat TT we've got coming up after the second rest day. Thornley knocked out of the hot seat, disappointed, but his teammate Fisher Black also likely to do a very, very good performance. He's been in good form, nearly won the Tour of Poland GC, and at the intermediate, he was just behind Tarling, less than a second behind Tarling, but he faded at the end. We do go through the Monte Carlo Circus or Carnival. That was pretty cool through there. But Christophe Laporte didn't have a follow moto. We didn't really see him on the course or how he handled the bike, but he was doing a very, very good time, but not good enough to beat Tarling, who remained on the hot seat. Fisher Black as well faded a little bit from the intermediate to the finish, losing 6 seconds to Tarling. But Ethan Hayter, we got proper coverage of Hayter's cornering, particularly in the start technical sections, not the end technical sections, but he was dropping the motorbike. Visibly, it seemed going faster than guys like Tarling in this phase. And I think on this right-hander, the motorbike nearly crashed, actually. I remember that you could hear the wheels screeching in live coverage, and it runs wide, and the car, Shimano or Sudal car, comes underneath him. So Hayter, very, very aerodynamic. Perhaps he's got a similar body to Remco, and even though Remco left the team, there's a lot of institutionalized knowledge from preparing Remco for TTs, the equipment, and that's obviously working pretty well for Ethan Hayter, who's one of the most aero guys in the peloton, beating Tarling by 4 seconds. That's a huge margin in such a short TT in less than 11 minutes. But here, Tadej Pogacar, he's not happy with his bidon. He says to his soigneur, I think he says here, pour some out of the bidon, because the rules are, if you have a bidon in a time trial, because obviously they're not going to drink during the time trial, but it can't be empty. You have to have some liquid in it. And then I think he's not happy with how little is in the bidon. And I'm now guessing, but I think he then says, fill it up. I was also judging from the arm angle of your man at what I think is some sort of Monegasque gold-plated bubbler to the right-hand side. I think he maybe fills it up a little bit more. Because, as I said, the rules say the bidon can't be empty, but it doesn't specify a minimum volume that must be in there. So I would argue as a lawyer that one drop is not empty. But anyway, I was finding, where did Pogacar or Hayter, where did they find 0.1 of a second? And maybe this is it. He then pours or siphons some more out before the TT. And I guess that just goes to show, is that your 0.09 right there with his attention to detail of having the right amount? He obviously wanted a very specific amount in his bid on for the TT. And it wasn't just that. Pogacar, I didn't see anybody else, both in the skis for this section after the first left-hand fast corner, but also staying in the skis for the right-hander straight afterwards. So Pogacar stayed in his position. I mean, even Thornley came into the base bar for that right-hander. Van Aert was out of it at the intermediate. 4 or 5 seconds was already too much. Pogacar also was 3 seconds behind Hayter, who still did a very good time to the finish. We saw Van Aert not going as quick as the others in that technical section. We didn't see Pogacar at all. We just saw a lot of Ivan Romeo. We only saw Pogacar's last 30 seconds of his TT, but Van Aert was already behind Ethan Hayter going into the last 75 meters. Hayter crossing his fingers, but here we finally see Pogacar. 30 seconds of the TT left. He's just got to scream out of the tunnel, and as I said, it's 20 seconds out of that tunnel, and he's got to beat 10:57. It's going to be a close run thing. Sprinting out of the tunnel, the clock goes red. Ooh. It doesn't go red, but we see that Pogacar's actually beaten Hayter by 0.09 of a second, less than a tenth of a second. F1 lap margins. Hayter understandably disappointed, and Pogacar wins in his home principality. Same time, I guess, as Hayter. 4 seconds ahead of Tarling, Thornley on 5 seconds, then Laporte, Bizio, Chamberlain, Van Aert, Fischer Black, and Cluckers.
It's a weird feeling to win the time trial, the first stage, and by such a small margin. I was not expecting it, and I'm really happy, and this red is really nice color.
Not even 1 second, 900 of a second. Did you make that in front of your house where it was technical?
Yeah, for sure. I think that 0.09 happened when I passed my apartment, because there was the most technical part, and I walk and cycle there every day. So even though it's completely different when it's for the race, still you race on your home roads, and you know it super well. So I think this helped me a lot today.
But we got a gravel stage coming up on stage 6 I'm really looking forward to. We go to Andorra in a couple of days. It goes past my house, which is pretty cool. We've got the Cala Alto, Peñas Blancas, and we finish in Granada doing laps of the Alhambra, which is pretty cool. But for the time being, Pogacar's already in the red jersey. Does he give it away, or is he going to wear it for 21 days straight? Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out Morton's deal, and I'll see you at the recap tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.